St. James Davis. St. James, a NASCAR pilot, and his wife LaDonna had a pet chimpanzee called Mo, whom they raised like a son since he was a baby. They adopted him after poachers killed his mother in Tanzania. And since they couldn't have children, they treated him like one of their own. He wore clothes, ate at the dinner table, and even took part in their wedding ceremony. Years earlier, after a long and painful legal fight because Mo bit a police officer and a visitor, he had been taken away from them, but they still visited him often, bringing his favorite food and toys. That day in March 2005, they brought cake, candy hearts, and chocolate milk to the ranch where Mo was. As soon as he saw them, he started clapping and smiling, but then in seconds, something unexpected happened. As LaDonna leaned over to cut a piece of cake, she saw something moving quickly from the corner of her eye. A chimpanzee, not Mo, but another young male named Buddy, had escaped from his cage. Before she could react, the chimp jumped at her and bit off her thumb. St. James pushed her under the picnic table to protect her, but then another chimp, Ollie, also got out. The two animals attacked together with terrifying strength. They jumped on St. James and tore at his face, hands and feet. They ripped away his skin and flesh until he was left unrecognizable. The ranch owner's son-in-law heard the screams, grabbed a revolver, and ran toward the noise. When he arrived, he saw the chimps attacking. He shot Buddy first, then chased Ollie, who was dragging St. James's badly injured body down a walkway. He fired again, killing Ollie too. He rushed toward St. James, who was lying on the ground, barely alive. Paramedics said it looked more like a grizzly bear attack than one by a chimpanzee. St. James had lost almost everything. His fingers, his left foot, much of his face, his nose, lips, and even his testicles. LaDonna's hand was covered in blood, and her thumb was gone. She could only watch while rescuers tried to keep her husband alive. He was flown by helicopter to the hospital, where he stayed for 6 months. For part of that time, he was in a coma. Over the next 4 years, he went through more than 60 surgeries. Doctors rebuilt his face as best they could. He had one prosthetic eye and 2 small slits, where his nose used to be. St. James survived, but his injuries left him permanently disfigured. However, their love for Mo didn't fade. They went back to court to make sure the city kept its promise to build a home where they could live with him again, and in their front yard, they even put up a sign that said, "Free Mo." However, in 2008, Mo disappeared from his new home and was never found. Some people said he escaped into the mountains, while others believed he might have been killed in the wild. Years later, tragedy struck again. St. James died in 2018 after suffering a stroke, and LaDonna, now alone, became a victim of financial abuse and lost much of what they had built together. While St. James's death wasn't directly caused by what happened at the ranch, it's fair to imagine it played a role, and the story was just too incredible not to include in this video.